guys, Roth from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe. It is episode 36 of our continuing Italy's Holocaust, but more specifically, the years before and after 1979, 1994. That is where we were for roughly 32, 33, 34, I think, 34 episodes. But now I want to look at the years leading up, years after, perhaps. Yeah, how far we take this thing, who knows? At least if I have it on the shelf, definitely. And this is, I do have this on the shelf, man. What a heavy film. Here, number 36, Lucio Fulci's, many would agree, his masterpiece of filmmaking. Not necessarily the most enjoyable of his filmography, but most enduring in terms of just craftsmanship, in terms of just his stature as a filmmaker, as a giallo film, a unique one. This is the incredible Arrow release of it. That is just absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Anyways, I was just looking for my volume. It's a little loud, but anyways, hopefully it's not too loud for you. Yeah, anyways, so Don't Torture a Duckling. If you're not very familiar with this, I figured this is a good way to start. So here we go. From Lucio Fulci, the godfather of gore. They include here The Psychic, The Beyond. For me, the Gates of Hell trilogy, or Fulci's Lovecraft trilogy. That is, of course, House by the Cemetery, City of the Living Dead, The Beyond. But so much more than that. What just an incredible filmography. Comes one of the most powerful and unsettling giallo thrillers ever produced. His 1972 masterpiece, Don't Torture a Duckling. Now, we just did Deep Red. Deep Red is by Dario Argento. It's a much different film than this. And this, of course, precedes that film. And it just seemed like the two were sort of showing each other their chops when it came to these movies, man. When a sleepy rural village of Asundura, I think that's how you say it, is rocked by a series of murders of young boys, the superstitious locals are quick to apportion blame with the suspects, including the local witch, Masara. I think that's how you said it. Florinda Bolkan, from a lizard and woman's skin, with the bodies piling up in the community, gripped by panic and a thirst for bloody vengeance. Two outsiders, city journalists, Andrea, Thomas Milian, of course, 4 of the Apocalypse, which is, I think, one of the great unsung westerns ever. That's Fulci, of course. The spoiled rich girl, Patricia, that is Barbara Bouchet. What an amazing... Okay, yeah. Red Queen kills 7 times. We won't get stuck on Bouchet. Team up to crack the case, but before the mystery is solved, more blood will have been spilled, and not all of it belonging to the innocents. Deemed shocking at the time for its brutal violence, depiction of the Catholic Church, and themes of child murder and pedophilia, although that's not even in this movie, so I'm not even sure why that's included. Don't Torture a Duckling is widely regarded today as Fulci's greatest film. Well, I guess if you argue contextually the one scene, but not involving the greater context of actually what's really going on. We'll get into that, I guess. Rivaling the best of his close rival, Dario Argento, Arrow videos, of course, blah, 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 blah. All right, anyways, Don't Torture a Duckling. I did review this years ago for BodyBags, I would imagine. Had a chance to reread, oh, actually, there it is. Splintered Visions by Troy Howarth. And I also read Stephen Thrower, Beyond Terror, I think it is, Beyond Terror. I read his take on Don't Torture. I read his take. I actually agree with his take more than Stephen Thrower, although I love Stephen Thrower. I love him in so many ways. I mean, in terms of his writing and his and just his analysis of Fulci. But in this particular film, I really do agree with Troy Howarth's points that he makes in his, and I'm not going to regurgitate those. If you don't have splintered vision and you're a Fulci fan, Italian fan, Fulci fan, you really need to have both Troy Howarth and Stephen Thrower's book, which I have down there. Two absolutely indispensable books dealing with the great maestro himself, Lucio Fulci. Okay, Don't Torture a Duckling. So I just read you the brief synopsis. It is a giallo. It's 1972. This is a different film for Fulci. Usually, Italian filmmakers were marketing their films outside of Italy. Therefore, they were shooting their films outside of Italy. This one, he actually films in Italy, and a lot of the subtext going on is it's a very sour pill for the average Italian to probably swallow. And we're not just dealing with the anti-Catholicism, and because I really don't think it's an anti-Catholic movie at all, period. You know, the synopsis on the back of the arrow box references the word pedophilia, but there is none of that in this movie at all. There is one scene involving Bouchet. She's sunning herself, not really sure how inside of her apartment where she lives. And one of the local boys is asked to bring a drink, something up to her. And of course, she is completely nude, and she actually tries, or at least seemingly tries to convince this 12-year-old boy, or not really convince, but sort of seduce him to in a way that would make it seem like she was gonna mess around with her. Although I don't think that really was her intention in terms of a character. That's how it really comes across. But in terms of the actual the context of the film, in terms of the giallo component and the killer who is killing these boys, which is absolutely horrific. I'm not sure really how much to say on this, just in the chance you've never seen it. It's a giallo. That means it is a mystery that needs to be seen unfold before you. There's a lot of things going on in here. Obviously, the Catholic Church, the rural community tradition against modernity, the city. It seems to want to, Fulci the film wants to suggest much angst solely in the direction of one specific area, but I think there's enough angst to go around for everyone. There really is not there's really not a good person in this entire movie. I mean, well, I say that the commissioner is really trying to solve this. You've got some outsiders, of course, a journalist, newspaper writer. You've got Bouchet's character, who is a druggie, who has been sent there back home to this little town where her father has built a house, which is the definition of modernity compared to the rest of the village. She's forced to go back home, chill while they await, I guess, a court date for something that she has done back in the city. And so she is really out of place here. I mean, really super out of place. The journalists, you've got police from the city who act as outsiders. You have a witch who acts as an outsider, even though it is heavily more than implied that both religion and superstition run hand in hand here. And so really, the town tolerates her as a witch. In terms of her superstitious belief, her delving into black magic. The problem is, and I will go into this way, because the boys, there are a group of boys who have been targeted. Well, they've been targeted by this witch. We'll say this: she's not the killer, and I've kind of given away a red herring, and so my apologies. But in order to not go any further, but to have some fun talking, we see her early on practicing a type of black magic voodoo sort of incantation where she's taking miniatures of the boys, putting needles into them, basically casting a spell of death in which she believes earnestly that when these boys start turning up dead, she's the blame for it. And she assumes the blame for it when she's finally arrested. There's a few red herrings to go around here. She is, well, the issue with her is she has buried a stillborn baby from years past. The boys somehow know that she has buried something there, and they sort of mess with the grave, and she takes extreme offense and basically casts a death spell on them. And so, as I said, when they start to die, she assumes responsibility, although she is not responsible in terms of committing the act in a physical way. Now, she may have committed the act from in her heart, and this is sort of what I want to get into. There's no one good in this movie. Whether you have, now, there is a showcase sort of moment with the witch where the town will unleash its vengeance in a very depraved way. They'll believe her words. Even though the police have released her, they'll believe that she is responsible, and a few of them will get together with chains and whips and whatnot, and they will, in one of the hardest moments in a film to watch, they will carry out their justice on her, and they will allow her to crawl away. Well, she'll end up crawling away. They won't kill her. She'll die, but they'll leave her alive long enough to suffer, and she'll actually crawl close enough to the edge of a highway in which you will see urbanites driving by on their way to vacation, and they see her on the side of the road, and no one stops. No one stops. And this is what I mean. No matter where you look across the great scope of this film, there is one character, and I say this, it is probably very politically incorrect to suggest this, at least maybe to some perspective, those who know the film, but there is one redeemable character in here, but is the one where you got to set aside something very major in order to see that there's only one person acting from a redeemable point of view where everyone else has some serious baggage going on. Bouchet's character, who tries to seduce a 12-year-old boy, the villagers who chain an innocent, I say innocent, how innocent is she? She cast a spell from the recess of her heart. She committed an act of murder. Now, she didn't carry it out physically. Someone else is. It's part of the gialli, right? Motives become very clear by the end. What is driving our killer? The film is amazing aesthetically to look at, and just absolutely amazing. The death of the boys is done very carefully. We'll say that, very carefully. I was going to use another word, but that just doesn't seem to jive well right now. They're done carefully with restraint, but at the same time quite brutal. It is a very disturbing film, and one wonders really what it seems to me. This is my own personal take. It seems like Fulci his issue isn't with the Catholic Church or its place in either. I think his problem more is Catholicism, as it's been messed by traditionalism, and maybe even too, I mean, it's sort of lost on modernity because modernity doesn't have any use for the church. And I don't think Fulci, who was raised Catholic, I don't think his point here is necessarily an anti-church message. I think his broader point is people in general are screwed up. Call it being inherently sinful or however you want to tag it. We're messed up as people. Now, some of us show it better than others, but we all are. We do have an issue. We have a problem. However you want to diagnose it or tag it, define it. Fulci's very much aware of this, and Fulci is also very damaged by personal loss. It is amazing to see a director work from, you think of Metallica's album Injustice for All. They had just lost their bass player, and they just have a lot of inner turmoil, questions of why did we have to go through this, and the result of that turmoil is an album that might be their best album, because it's just asking a lot of questions. And I think Duckling asks a lot of questions in terms of just the human suffering and Fulci's suffering. And it's not going to be his only loss. I think at that point it was his wife that he lost, or would lose. If he hadn't lost her yet, he's going to lose her. He'll lose a daughter. It's amazing the man traveled as far down the road as he did. It's amazing that he was able to direct or create as much as he was able to create. But I think film allowed him the outlet to do just that. Duckling deals a lot with just the struggle with tradition over modernity, as we said, superstition, the issue of, if you look at it from a religious point of view, this fallen world. If you don't see it from a religious point of view, it's still a fallen world. I mean, regardless of how you look at it, right? People's motivations and what causes them to do what they do, the decisions they make, and we see a lot of this on display in Duckling. And like I said, there's a lot of blame to go around with intention and motivation and what is just pushing people to do what they do. No one's free in this, really. I don't know. I thought I had more. I guess we're probably running up close to 18 here, 19. It is an amazing film, and I probably have said enough to just sort of pull the veil away a little bit. But it is so worth watching. If you've never seen Duckling, it's worth watching. If not to see a director really say some things, some very fragile things that some people really took to heart. Maybe not in such a more different way than Ruggero Deodato in Cannibal Holocaust and the message he was invoking. Craven's Last House on the Left. We can go right down the line, right? Hooper's, and we're sort of getting away from heavy punches, but I mean, even Hooper's original Texas movie. These are movies that are a byproduct of directors who are very angry, who are filled with a lot of questions or angst. And I say that with the heaviest weight. They're just being turned from the inside out at all that they're seeing around them. And this is their way. Zombie was Fulci's great release. I mean, at a perfect time. And that movie would not be what it is today if it wasn't for that. And so there's something to be said, something to be noticed about that. Human suffering may be, and how we deal with human suffering might be the main message of this entire film. And I have not heard anyone phrase it quite like that. I've heard a lot of phrasings. I've read a lot of phrasings. I've read a lot. I've heard a lot. But I think in the end, it's human suffering and how we deal with it is really what Fulci's messing with here. These are the thoughts he's having, and he doesn't know how to deal with it. Maybe it's just the fact that he's a director and he can paint. In terms of creating cinema, is his way of dealing with it. He has an outlet, a very healthy outlet. Many of us do not have that kind of outlet, and so how do we let that out? And sometimes we let it out in ways that is seen in Don't Torture a Duckling. I think right there, I've said it all. I think this is a very important film, maybe more important than I ever really gave it credit for being. I never really second-guessed its importance in terms of structurally just being a very sound film, in terms of being a giallo and just a well-structured film. The music, Orlani's music. There's a lot going on here under the surface, and it's not as on the surface as some people think. It's much deeper, and it touches each and every one of us in a real way, I think. It's not a movie you watch. You just don't go, hey, let's watch Don't Torture a Duckling. But it's a film like Cannibal Holocaust, or a few others that really does need to be seen, and by a relatively sound mind that can really just sort of intake, process, and really kind of consider and think about it for a moment of what's going on here. And how might we make application of that in terms of how we relate to those around us and how we deal with human suffering here in the light of December, right? As we approach Christmas, the time to be joyful, right? Unless our life has been turned upside down, what are we doing to help alleviate suffering? The sense of people just have been upended. How we relate to those around us. Anyways, I don't know. That's the problem with movies like this, man. They can just get your mind rolling in really weird ways. So anyways, I'm going to end here. It is a absolutely fantastic movie. It's caused me, to sort of answer my Dario Argento crazy vibes with a Lucio Fulci crazy vibes next. And so that'll be my next crazy vibes. Anyways, this film is not for everyone. It's not for everyone. But if you're a connoisseur of real serious film that provokes, even angers, it messes with the emotions a bit, but wants you to think about a lot of things, this is a movie worth chewing on a bit. Yeah, I'm gonna end it there. Anyways, 22 minutes. I'm sorry. It's December. Happy holidays. My best wishes to you, your families. Thank you for the support. And if you're curious about our thoughts on the Graveyard Ship podcast on Godzilla -1, that's top of the heap. I'm pretty sure I put that link down there. All my best for the rest of this month. Christmas will be here soon enough, and then we'll be off into January and yet another year. It's how it rolls, man. It's how it rolls. As always, we end these things off with Go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream.
We might be useful.